Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. We provide fan-oriented and analytic discussions on a variety of animated shows, movies, and anime, currently featuring Steven Universe, Miraculous Ladybug, New Powerpuff Girls, Starburst, The Force and Evil, and Ruby. I'm Dylan Hysen, and today I'm joined by Sam Quattro.
Hello.
Today, Sam and I will be discussing the 2015, 2016, whatever, French, Canadian, American animated film, The Little Prince.
It's just a little bit of everything.
It is. This is hard to track this movie's production, but yeah, based off of the incorporated the 1943 novella, French novella by Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. I don't know. That was my best guess at that. So, this movie is on Netflix. Its American release, is completely on Netflix, exclusive to Netflix. So you can check that out on Netflix. We'll start spoiler free if you have not seen this movie. So you can hear our recommendations first, and then we'll get into spoilers from this film. This is, we're recording this well before, Oscar nominations, but this film is a potential, best animated feature, Oscar inclusion. It's American.
Can it be? Is it within the rules?
Yeah, it didn't get released in America at all until this year, so its eligibility is for this year, even though it was released in France in 2015. Question. I would say it's not likely to get a nomination, but it's possible. So.
What should get a nomination?
Well, you can read about that on the Overly Animated blog. I've got an article coming up about that if it has not been already released when you're listening to this. And let's get into The Little Prince. This is spoiler free for now. And then we will get into more spoiler territory. So Sam, without getting into because this film takes a different direction in the second half. So let's not get into what happens yet, but what were your general impressions and reactions to this film?
Okay, so at first I thought it was just going to be kind of like a dumb movie, to be honest. I thought it was going to be just typical, themes that happen in children's movies these days, like Despicable Me, whatnot. But I was very pleasantly surprised. I cried 3 times.
Cried 3 times, yeah.
3 separate times.
In the spoiler section, we'll identify when that happened. Okay.
Yeah, but it just turned into something that I thought was going to be very surface level and very almost boring, and I didn't know anything about it walking into it, to something that was really beautiful and honest and really got me. It got me.
It got you. Yeah.
I was going to say got me thinking, but it just got my emotions and really tug at my heartstrings. And I really wasn't expecting that at all. 10 out of 10.
Okay, wow, 10 out of 10. Sam cry 3 times, 10 out of 10. There's the reveal. Yeah, neither Sam and I had read the novella before watching this, but
I didn't even know it was based on anything before walking into it.
So it's completely clean, but since then we both read a detailed description of the book. I would say you definitely don't need to have read it going in.
Yeah.
The movie basically covers the entire thing. So, I think this film's very good. I don't think it's 10 out of 10, clearly, but,
okay, maybe 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, I thought the first half of this film was fine. It wasn't that great. And then I thought the second half was excellent. Basically.
Really?
Yeah. We'll get into details, but, everything after probably the first point Sam cried, I think after that is really, really good.
Oh, you don't know when I cried.
Well, that's true. It might be random. We'll see. But yeah, this is a really interesting movie. It is, it has 2 sides. The first half is a generic, 3D, animation, kind of inside out looking humans.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at when I was explaining.
Yeah, it does look very generic. That's kind of the human parts, and I think those parts of the film are fine. They're okay. And then it has a stop motion, second, half of the film based off of the book. None of that spoilers. So basically just the first half of the movie just goes back and forth between the stop motion sequences that are telling the story of the book, and then this 3D animated sequences that kind of incorporate the telling of the book basically with this little girl's life and stuff like that. And I think that the generic animated sequences, there's nothing super special about them. I mean, we're kind of accustomed to that style of animation at this point, even though it's impressive. It's typical at this point.
Yeah, it's boring.
It's kind of boring. Yeah. I thought it was well animated, but it's typical. But the stop motion sequences I thought are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Very beautiful.
Yeah. And this, what's great is the second half incorporates them in really interesting ways. So it's just like, at some point, the movie's just gorgeous, the whole time and it starts off, gorgeous half the time. I think the movie struggles to incorporate its two disparate stories in the first half. I don't think it does it well. I didn't super connect to particularly any either side of the story until they came together. So,
That's interesting.
I mean,
I feel kind of the opposite.
Okay, well, you want to elaborate?
We'll get into that in the spoilers.
Okay, we'll get into that in spoilers. But yeah, so I think this movie is good, potentially great, but it's what it is. Also directed by Mark Osborne, we should say. It seems like reading the production description of the Wikipedia page certainly put a lot into this movie over several years, and I mean, I think it pays off. I think this is certainly a memorable special movie that will be, is going to be remembered, even if I don't think it's particularly better than a Zootopia or whatever. The typical.
I would argue that it's better.
I think I agree this is better than Zootopia.
Okay, maybe not better, but like different kinds
it's
of
different.
good.
I think this is much more memorable, I would say.
Agree. Yeah. Definitely agree.
Like this is 10 years from now, looking back at the 2015, 2016 animated films, I'll probably remember this, near the top, even if its quality isn't necessarily as high as a Moana, I think it's arguable that this is as good as a Moana. I probably don't think so.
I guess.
I don't think so, but
I don't know. I haven't seen Moana in like a month, so.
And another thing about this film is that the novella that it's based off of is a complete social satire, so there's a lot of that in the movie. And that is a good topic for Dylan and Sam to discuss, so we will get into all of that.
Social satire. Oh, yeah.
Very base level social satire. Very on the nose satire from the book and the resulting.
There's nothing wrong with that, considering it's more considered.
I think there's some wrong with that. Like, I think the beginning of this film is so on the nose. Oh my goodness.
Well, okay, sometimes you need on the nose stuff, Dylan. You need to like drive your point home.
I'll say this: I thought this movie handled its social satire a million times better than the Lego Movie.
Really?
Like, I think this movie, I think both of them have the exact same social satire, and this movie handles it so much better.
I agree. They have the same social satire.
It's the exact same thing.
I haven't seen the Lego Movie in a while. I remember really liking that movie, though. So
I didn't like that as much as I like Little Prince. So that's your mileage may vary on that one. But yeah, so let's get into, recommended from both Sam and I. You can boot it up on Netflix right now, hour 40 minutes, and it's certainly something special. Oh, another thing is the soundtrack for this film is phenomenal. The music is really incredible. Like, there's so many production elements of this film which are just so excellent. So really, I'd recommend checking it out for sure. Okay, spoilers starting now for The Little Prince, the film. I guess also the novella, but so spoilers. Okay, Sam. What are your big highlights from the film? Your big emotional climaxes.
Okay, when I cried.
If you want, or if those are the same thing.
Well, not always one of the same. Well, I really felt like you were talking about how the social commentary was sort of on the nose, and like I felt that it was kind of poignant enough that it made me feel something.
Okay, let me explain by what I mean. The on the nose parts being we open up and we drive through this town, and all the cars move at the exact same pace, and they turn, and all the houses look the same. That's
and then
what
the
I'm
whole
talking
academy
about.
thing. It's like
and everything about the academy. Yeah, like
aspire to be essential or whatever, and like that sort of like had me feel like at the point I am in my life, like that's how I feel like the world is right now. So, it had me feeling something, you know?
Yeah, that's fair.
So, thank you. Okay. So I didn't cry at that, but I definitely felt like, oh, God, it's getting a bit too real here.
That's the part that's the same as the Lego Movie, for sure.
Okay, well, I like the Lego Movie, too.
That's fine.
Well, thematically, I would argue they're very similar in terms of, like, childhood, etc.
Oh, yeah. Thematically, these are similar movies. Very, very similar. Yeah.
Nonetheless, anyway. The first time I cried was at the Fox. James Franco the Fox when he came in.
That's not what I would expect, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
No, it was just
the first half, second half of the movie. I think the first half begins at the point where we go through the grieving stuff when the giver Jeff Bridges in his full the giver mode. Jeff Bridges is now only able to play roles that involve being the giver. That is all he's allowed to do now.
I really find it funny that out of all of Jeff Bridges like roles.
That is what he has
Giver
become.
The Giver is the one that you choose to highlight right here.
He's just the Giver in this movie. That's his entire.
He's not the Giver.
Yes, he is the Giver. He is the the ominous old man who has the answers to a dystopian social satire society film. He's the Giver. Anyway,
I would argue it's not quite on the nose as the Giver.
it's not. Yeah,
I think the Giver's pretty on the nose.
His characters, I think the Giver as a whole is less on the nose, but Jeff Bridges' character is whatever. Anyway, they start calling him the Aviator around 2/3 into the movie. He doesn't have a name before that. I'm going to call him the Giver. Okay, so yeah, the Aviator / the Giver. When he's like, I'm going to go away soon, and then he's like lying in bed, and her and the little girl who doesn't have a name. That super pisses me off. Just name your character.
Nobody has a name, Dylan.
The little princess. Well, the little girl's not in the book though. Like you could have named her something. She's a new character.
Nobody has a name.
Anyway, I guess they're what they're going for is like in the style of the book where things don't have names. I get that, but you just give her a name anyway.
Okay.
Anyway, Mackenzie Foy is talking to the Giver, and they're on the bed. Mackenzie Foy, aka Renesmee from the Twilight movies. So there you go. Yeah. So they're sitting on the bed, and they're talking about how he's gonna go, and like they have this whole thing about moving on but not forgetting, and that's this super blatant theme in the movie. And he's like, I'm gonna go away, and this is like before he goes to the hospital and stuff. And then from that point on, I think the movie like actually kicks into gear, but that doesn't happen until like at least 40 minutes in. Anyway, so the fox, I thought the fox scene was good. That was in the beginning of the film.
Well, I don't know. It's just about like finding a friend, and the fox teaches the little prince about just because you can't see something doesn't mean it's not there, and you have to like listen with your heart and follow your heart and blah blah blah. It's just here. I don't remember exactly what. See with your heart.
Yeah, this is something from the original novella. One sees clearly with only with the heart. The essential is invisible to the eye, or something like that. Yeah, and that's a theme that they carry over from the novella a lot into the movie. Yeah,
but I don't. It just like really got me. It's like just because the one that you love is not with you doesn't mean that they don't love you. You know what I mean? I don't know. That got me.
That's good.
Sort of thematic thing.
Yeah.
I like themes like that, especially in like woven through like something that's quote unquote for kids, because it's at like I think at like its most basic, like purest form, where love is seen as being very pure and not all that complicated. Anyway.
Yeah. I think that's good. Yeah, it's the theme of people who die are still alive in our hearts, and that's yeah. Okay, that was good. What was the second time?
I think it was around the time that what's his face, the Aviator, went to the hospital. Because he's dying.
Yeah.
And she just doesn't get it.
Does she not get it?
She didn't get it before he went to the ambulance.
I thought she got it.
I don't think she got it.
I don't know, maybe.
Well, obviously she didn't get it beforehand. She didn't really understand what he meant by going away. Anyway. The third time I cried was at the end, after, they, like, go to him in the hospital, and, it's the end of the movie, and, you hear him and the little prince laugh, and he's dead, and it's sad, and,
it's sad.
Man.
Yeah.
It's just sad.
This whole movie's very sad. It's a very sad movie.
Like, I don't know, like, I'm more crying about, like, the themes of, like, loss of innocence, and, like, well, maybe the little girl, she gets innocence. She, like, retains her innocence, or rather, like, reclaims it from her mother and, like, the society that she lives in. Yeah. That's telling her that, you have to be essential in order to grow up. You have to, like, mean something in the cogs of society. Where, that isn't necessarily what life is. And, my tears are more coming from, the, societal implications of this movie, especially when they go find the little prince when he's an adult. That sort of like mentality that when you grow up you lose who you are, and you forget who you are, and you forget what it means to be like alive, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very good. Yeah,
Thanks, Dylan.
this movie is very blatant with its themes. It's one of the big ones, as you're talking about, is like, it's they say you don't need to grow up when you grow up. Like they say that. I think.
Yeah, like you'll physically age, but
yes, but you don't
mentally-
need to. Yeah, and they don't say loss of innocence in the movie. That's very much what they're talking about. Like you don't need to lose your kid-like wonder or whatever it is that you
curiosity,
your whatever about the world to
Spirits.
when you become an adult. You don't need to. Yeah, live in this homogenized society, right? So
yeah, don't let capitalism get you down.
yeah, okay. We don't all, I don't know if it's just I don't know if the movie's satirizing capitalism, but arguable. Not as blatantly as Boy in the World, I would say. Boy in the World is much more,
obviously, yes.
which I think Boy in the World's a very relevant comparison to this movie. Both are extremely blatant with
Oh
their
my god,
themes.
it's been like 5 ever since.
Yeah, no, it was about a year since we
watched
podcasted
after
on
that
that.
podcast and haven't watched it since.
You can check out our podcast on that. But yeah. So for me, I think this movie is very base level. Like, okay, we're all zombies subscribing to society, and we all homogenize to we also the conformity, blah blah blah. Yeah, that's Sam and I are both basically the direct target for this this type of satire, because we're both very much in like the first stages of adulthood, right? The post college stages. For me, this was too general, I guess, for me to connect to at the moment. I got it. I got that this is, I agree. This is kind of, there's truth to this. It's not, but creating a world where it's the literal being, much like the Lego movie, for me doesn't really work, because there's a lot more depth to society. I'd prefer satire that was more specific and more, true to what I see around me, I guess. So, whatever.
Interesting.
But, still, I thought it was fine. Like, I think that, it is super on the nose with its cars all moving the same, but it doesn't dwell on that. It moves on, and it goes to interesting places with it. I think in particular, like I said, once they sit down, the Giver and Renesmee sit down to have their talk about death. I think from that point on, the film is excellent, and I think the decision to like for her to go looking for the Little Prince really blends these kind of two disparate sequences we've been getting throughout the movie together in a way that really worked for me. Like, I think that it's really good once they go to that asteroid that is not his home planet, but is a different asteroid, and we go through the businessman's planet, and we go through everything on there. In particular, the sequence of her breaking the stars out of their container was gorgeous and incredible. I really loved that sequence. And just everything they do on that asteroid, I think, was really successful.
I was thinking about this after the fact, and I was wondering if, like, that's supposed to be like a near-death experience, like metaphor almost. Not like the stars, but like the whole like visiting the other asteroids in general, since the whole point of the Little Prince leaving was him dying. And I'm wondering if the little girl leaving and visiting the Little Prince, if that is something to do with death, near death. I don't know.
Right. So the themes of the book, because once we finish telling the story of the book, and then we just do other stuff, basically. So for a while, we're just kind of just going along with it. So the snake bites him and he dies, and that's how he has to go to, back to his home planet or whatever. That's all from the book. And, the themes of loss and stuff, right?
Yeah, but then it gets woven into the actual plot, and the fantastical elements of the book they're like injected into this reality we have. I don't quite understand it.
And then,
it's not supposed to be metaphorical.
Yeah, but then we're gonna go find the Little Prince, and it does get a little muddled. I agree, because from the Giver's retellings, we learn that he we learned that all of this is true, presumably. So all this happened in the past, and now he left, and now he gets trapped. He gets like lost on his way home. I guess they're extending the book on. He gets stuck on this planet. So that all happened, and now this is all after he died. It's like, what's going on, right? Because this isn't. I think it becomes less important, like connecting the two. It's more just like a kind of a fantastic journey for the girl at the end.
I don't know. Like, for me, it just doesn't really work that well. It's like, so the little girl and, the whole pretty, like, 3D animated stuff, that's, like, the framing device for the novella portions, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in the end, it turns into, like, the novella and the framing device coming together. It's like in The Princess Bride, if you had Fred Savage and his grandpa, if you have, like, them and then, Princess Buttercup and Wesley, like, walk into the room and, like, suddenly, like, are reading the story with them, it just doesn't work. You can't really, like, insert your framing device into your, like, fantastical story when they're not really in the same... I wouldn't say they're not in the same reality since it's the aviator telling it and he's, like, the consistent character in between the two, at least at first, but it just doesn't work for me, at least.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake to try to connect the two, the first half and second half of the movie, in a literal sense. And I think it's a fault of the film that it doesn't explain the connection, because once Mackenzie Foy leaves on her journey, then we've stopped the telling of the book, and it's a separate instance of the novella, basically. Like, I don't think it's supposed to connect to the original telling. Like, yeah, this is the Little Prince after he experienced all that, but if you're gonna try to, like, say that this is the current him and stuff, it becomes probably, there's unintended thematic complications and stuff like that, I think. If
she tries to kill herself.
Like, right, is that her killing herself by, like, going to the other planet? Because that's he had to do.
That's
right.
literally what I was thinking. I was like, oh my god, she tried to kill herself.
Right, I don't think that that's what they intended, although I don't know. But, I think she's just going on this journey.
I don't know. They're French, Dylan. Who knows what their weighty French thoughts.
I mean, the movie's directed by Mark Osborne, and who's American. Like, there's a significant French crew to this, but yeah, it's. I guess. It's like, I think this is a gorgeous movie. It's got a lot going for it, but there's some significant flaws. I think that in the first half, the two parts don't connect, and then I agree, the first half doesn't really connect to the second half. It doesn't quite come together, the entire movie. Like, I don't particularly care at the end, because it's like it's top heavy. Like, it has the good stuff where it needs to have the good stuff. Like, I'm a big fan of having the best narrative parts towards the end and stuff like that. So it's okay that, like, it's enough to forget the narrative sins of the first half, and also just for me to forget the connections to the first half. So I don't think it matters that much to me personally, but there's a lot of narrative flaws to what the movie ultimately is, I would say.
Maybe I'll bump it down to, like, a 9 or, like, an 8.5 out of 10. I don't know.
Okay. So what are your highlights in terms of scenes apart from the parts that made Sam cry? Like, I highlighted the breaking out of the stars. I thought that was really excellent.
That's a good question.
Yeah. It is a good question.
Know.
That's why I asked it.
I really liked any scenes between the aviator and the little girl.
Yeah.
It was just really cute and adorable. I really liked the fox, like the stuffed animal fox. He was adorable.
He was good,
I loved him.
Yeah, the highlight of the fox is when he tries to step on the guy at the end after they
so
both
cute.
Yeah, he tries to follow the stepping, and that was really good. The fox was good, yeah. I never understood if this was the actual fox or not, and then he kind of comes to life after. But again, that's not important,
No, I don't know. This fox doesn't seem like too much like James Franco, so who knows?
Yeah, I didn't even think of this as James Franco when he was talking.
It's James Franco.
I know. There's a bunch of people in this, obviously.
Because I read it.
Yeah. What do you think of?
We
we hear Little Prince as a kid, and then we see older Little Prince, and now he's Paul Rudd.
Okay, so I had, like, a little bit of, like, a not conundrum about it, but, like, an interesting. Like, it just was interesting to me that, like, they turned the Little Prince into, like, this, sort of like typical, like, children's movie, like, bumbling, like, Horton Hears a Who sort of, like to give an example of another
I agree with that, yeah.
Like, turns, like, a children's book character into, like, something that's bumbling, sort of, like, weird and quirky and blah blah blah. And I liked him, but it just didn't feel like the same person. How can this, like, pure angelic little boy turn into this fumbling?
That's how life works, Sam. That's how it works.
Yeah, I guess that's happening to me. So
okay.
No, yeah. But I don't know. It was just like a maybe that had more to do with, like, the aviator. He was the one who was retelling the story of the Little Prince, right? So to him, the Little Prince seemed like this very angelic little boy.
Yeah.
But in reality, that isn't always the case. And so, maybe the reality of him being a bumbling, dumbling Paul Rudd is, more to the
I
truth
guess
than
so. Yeah,
the stop motion parts.
yeah, I agree. I agree with all that. That's a good point. I very much heard Paul Rudd though when he talked. I'm like, okay, that's interesting that he's Paul
I
Rudd
like
now.
Paul Rudd.
I like Paul Rudd too.
I think he's very handsome.
He very much okay. Well, he very much sounded like Paul Rudd though. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, I thought that was. So, what do you think of the interactions of the girl and the older teenage Mr. Prince? Yeah.
I don't know. It was interesting. I don't know. It didn't really work super well for me because it's Paul Rudd and
his character wasn't. Yeah, the teenage version he wasn't incredible. But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was fine. I thought it was.
I like Paul Rudd, but
yeah, sure.
I just don't. They didn't really have too much chemistry. I feel.
What do you think of the just the happenings of the asteroid once they get there? The businessman takeover asteroid. We see all the people from that we met in the telling of the book, and they're all doing the Ricky Gervais policeman and stuff like that. And
see, that makes me wonder if the book is just a big old lie.
Well, no, because at the end, at the end, we pass by the asteroid where the king sat, and he's not there. So, yeah.
I think that would be like the typical swerve that would happen. Like that's a swerve that happened in the Lego Movie almost.
Yeah, well, but again, I don't think this is supposed to matter though. Like,
the plot twist. Oh my God, the aviator was a.
Yeah, but again, I don't think this is
metaphorizing his life on this business planet.
Oh, okay. I don't think that was the intent.
Yeah, I'm not really sure, but whatever.
I think it was just that the businessman took over, since the Little Prince had been on Earth, basically.
Yeah, he took over all the inhabitants of the asteroid.
Yeah, but again, I don't think it really matters connecting it directly to the book. It's just supposed to be a thing after it.
Who's your favorite out of all the asteroid people?
Tough questions here. I guess the Ricky Gervais guy, but
yeah, the conceited man who has to tip his hat whenever somebody applauses him.
Yeah, I don't think the Albert Brooks businessman worked that well.
Did you know that he voiced Marlin in Finding Nemo?
Yes, that is.
I didn't know that.
That's how it works.
I don't know who he was.
We had there's I was reading the detailed plot description of the book, and there are a bunch of stuff they left. There's 3 people they left out, like the geographer,
who needs him?
The geographer who mocked specialization in society, stuff like that.
We don't need geographers in society, Dylan.
We had the Benicio del Toro. That's what the book is saying, I think. We had the Benicio del Toro snake, Maureen Cotillard Rose, and the James Franco fox. So those are all our fable people. So I think the least successful part of the book is the rose of the book and the movie. So the book, maybe it works fine in the book, but I was highly uncomfortable during this film with and this is a big reason why I think it's not it's a tier below incredible. The Maureen Cotillard Rose is a direct connection from the book. They don't change it at all. However, this was written in 1940, and it comes across as incredibly sexist when I watched it, because it's the rose is like it's like oh, she was so conceited and vain, but she apologized, and she was holding me back from exploring, and it's this parallel to the writer's wife. I was just super uncomfortable with that. Oh my goodness, this is this is early 1900s sexism blatantly in the movie. I thought they should have changed that for sure. That was my
maybe concern. I just didn't really notice it because I didn't really notice.
It plays luckily it plays off a little bit because it's a little boy, but it's they very much say love and everything surrounding just oy.
I don't know. I'm not really one to pay attention too much in the matters of sexism when it's between a rose and a little boy.
Yeah, it was also very weird that the little boy is in love with the rose, but
it's a metaphor, Dylan.
It's just a metaphor to the guy and his wife and to his very sexist viewpoints of his wife. So that's what I would say.
When you look up into the sky and you think of the asteroid, you feel the rose in your heart, and she's there. Doesn't mean she loves you any less.
Yeah, so ignoring that, then it's still fine. Just someone you love back home. Yeah, that's fine.
That's more what I took out of it. I took love and blah blah blah.
I think that's the intent, right? So that's good. That's good. So that's good. And it was a small part of just a very quick small part of the film, and they kind of rush through it as if they know it's
that's probably why I didn't really notice it.
It was very quick. Anyway, so what do we think of the main character, the little girl voiced by Mackenzie Foy?
I like her.
Yeah, I think she's very good.
I think her mom is a little bit too overbearing about her future, and I don't really understand why.
Rachel McAdams' mom. I thought she was great. I really like her too.
She's not a cool mom like Amy Poehler.
Yeah, she's not a cool mom like Amy Poehler. Yeah.
Oh my God, cut that out.
No, that's a good. Yeah, we're just referencing other things. We're referencing other things that the actors have been in. That's good. Yeah, I thought her and her mom were super sympathetic, and the decision to make this movie centered around two females was very successful in my opinion.
Yeah, I really like that too. Like when I first saw it, I was like really surprised. I was like, oh, that's nice.
And she's a single mother, and I think she comes across as very sympathetic, a little too, obviously a little too overbearing, right? But I think that the movie doesn't lose it, and they give her a moment at the end, right? So
yeah, so it's nice. Yeah, she gets her redemption.
Yeah. I thought the little girl was great. She's, I love the characterization of her in the beginning. She says stuff like that's improbable. She very much comes across like you won't get this reference, but like an early Marco in Star, the safety kid. So I really liked that element.
She reminded me of me because she like points out the illogicasies in the world.
That was true. I like that. Yeah. No, she reminded me of me too. So,
what I didn't get was why she wasn't pointing out that when he was driving her out for pancakes for her quote unquote birthday, how that wasn't kidnapping, because it kind of was.
Well, everything surrounding the giver and the girl was super creepy. Like, I know you liked it. That is good. But he's just this random old guy who lives next door.
So I don't think inherently, a friendship between, like, generations is creepy.
Society would disagree, but yes.
Well, society is...
Okay, Sam, but yeah.
No, but society is, like, not the... most important thing.
This movie and the novella basically blatantly says society sucks, right? So
yes,
right. So he's just the grandfather figure. Yeah, I didn't think that was the only creepy part. Like I thought the initial stuff was, but
making good things bad, Dylan.
I think is that what the book says? I think that's what the book says society does. Stop making good things bad. Yeah. Anyway, back to the little girl. I thought that she was a very good main character, which they would have given her a name. And, I think she's eclipsed a little bit by the prince. He's the important one.
Who cares about the prince?
I want her to be friends with, Riley from Inside Out because they look the same. Because this movie looks the same.
Yeah, they kind of do look the same.
Yeah. So they're best friends. That's my headcanon.
Well, okay. Well, I don't think they're in the same universe, but yeah, whatever.
Why can't this movie be in that universe? Why not?
I don't know. I feel like maybe they're on like different planets.
Is that the like the honest trailer of this? We see the emotions inside Mackenzie Foy, little girl's head. Is that the
you should make that yourself, Dylan. Make that honest trailer.
I'm not making. No one would be interested in that, but
I think somebody would.
That'd be that. So, and so what do we think of the little prince in the story, in the elements themselves of, he's very much just like a book character. It's kind of presented as. He speaks
too proper.
Yeah. Well, he quotes the 1940 book. So.
Which was,
that's why.
French.
They keep the, he's not talking in French. The catastrophe, they keep that and stuff like that, right? A lot of quotes directly from the book.
Yeah,
so.
Well, also, like, the aviator writes in French. Maybe that's because
in the pages we see it's French. I didn't even notice. Okay, interesting.
Je suis.
That's I don't know Sam. French. Yeah, those are the two words Sam knows. Yeah, sorry. I think I also said that. In one of our Ladybug podcasts. Yeah. They say miraculous a lot, in this movie.
Maybe that's just like a really big board in France.
Yeah. The other French property we cover on the show is Miraculous Ladybug, which is French. So I think that's funny that they say miraculous a lot in this movie. What other, sorry. Yeah, Sam, sorry. What other elements we got here that you want to talk about?
I don't know. What else was there? The nosy neighbors. I don't like them.
Okay. I wouldn't have thought to mention the neighbors.
I don't know, they're just always like peeking around whenever the old man does something. Like, God, stay in your lane, people. Jeez, just because your neighbor's a little weird doesn't mean you have to like gawk at him every time something happens.
Yeah, true. What do you think of this book's I was using that opportunity to think of another topic. What do you think of this book's social satire? So we talked about this a little bit, but he's very much like okay, adult society sucks. Children, shouldn't. We talked about all this. The grow up, growing up, not growing up, and this.
Well, they hear him tell it. Society sort of suffocated his
Yeah.
potential for being an artist
Right. Yeah.
because it
So
wasn't not productive enough.
yeah. Do you want to talk about that? That seems like a Sam topic.
So essentially, the thing in this society, in the book, in the movie, is that the world tries to, stifle any sort of creativity because it's not productive to society. It's not productive to the cogs of the machine. We are to be making money, to be working, etc. at all times, and any art or culture or anything that is of enjoyment and passion and humanity, it's just simply not allowed. And while this movie is a grand exaggeration of that, I feel like that's very true in society. I mean, you tell your parents or like your relatives or just people who ask, hey, I'm going to art school, and they're like, oh my God, how are you going to get a job? How are you going to, do this, that, whatever. And while, it sucks and, we have to make ends meet somehow, that shouldn't stifle our feelings for creativity, and that shouldn't stifle the passion that we have to create and to make and to express our humanity, because I feel like art is the expression of what it means to be human, with the human experience. That's what art essentially is. And if we're just busy working all the time and not really experiencing life, what is the point of making art? And I guess that's just not valued in their culture because, they're busy with skyscraper, snow globes and a bunch of dumb stuff. So they're not really experiencing, but the old man, the aviator, he's experiencing. He has like a really fire hazardy house and stuffed animals and a plane and records and, the radio and the cars, and, in the houses of like the quote unquote normal people, just, the weather report and just some monotone man going on. And it just isn't what it means to be human. I mean, they're surviving. They are living, but they're not thriving. And I would argue the old man, he is thriving. He is creative. He is lively. He is more human than these square blocks of tofu are.
Certainly, yes, more than the homogeneous houses next to him.
Yes.
Yeah, clearly.
So that's Sam's take on it. My take on it is that, art is important. And, it's just like what our society tells us. I mean, you're never going to make money doing art. You're never going to, amount to anything if you do art. And, while success in our society is measured through, like, how many cars you have, or, like, if you have, like, a beach house or whatever, that's not necessarily the case. I think success can be measured through, like, personal fulfillment and personal enjoyment and living. And, I don't know, just whatever.
Yes, good job. That was a good.
Sam is very conflicted about the state of the world and society at this moment.
No, I think that's good. I agree with all this. And I think this is what the movie is presenting. So I think that it's the book more than the movie that gives this point. But I think the movie gets there at the end with it. This like satirization with the drawings that the girl brings the old man at the end with like the bounds it up, and he's like, oh, my drawings. And I never really thought of it that way throughout the movie, that this is like his artistic retelling of it. I kind of more just like, this is like a fairy tale book, but so I guess I thought this was one of the more subtle themes of the movie that comes together at the end. This like him being an artist. I guess I never really thought of him.
I don't think it's very subtle considering it's in the beginning of the movie.
I guess so. Yeah. It just I compared to the cars moving at the same pace and stuff like that. It's not something that I clearly got throughout the entire movie, but I thought that was good. And I think it's interesting that he's like an artist and also is like rebuilding the plane and stuff. I guess that's this movie's version of the mocking of specialization. Like he's like a lot of different things, like art forms and stuff like that.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah, well, I guess so. But yeah, so there you go. I think there's other stuff that we get into. I mean,
Her life chart.
The life chart, yeah, Yeah,
that's crazy. I hated that. That was my least favorite part of the movie.
Why?
Because that's a crazy way to live.
I mean, yeah.
I mean, I know it's just like a very overt satirization, but still, it's just insane.
Yeah. Yep. It is insane. But then she still goes to school at the end. What do you think of that?
Yeah, that's kind of weird. I wonder, like.
But she does it in her own way by drawing the snake who eats the thing. Yeah. So
I guess it's too late to move because they already bought the house.
I guess it's too late.
I mean, once you buy a house, you generally like don't have like a lot of money to buy another one right away. So
that's the Sam takeaway. It was too late to move. So that's why that happened.
Yeah. It was
No,
too
I
late
think
to move.
she's taking it in her own direction. She's learned the parables of the film. So overall, we both think it's a very good film. I think it incorporates this novella in a really interesting way. I guess I think it's probably too deferential to it. I mean, I think it maybe would have benefited more from not. I definitely think that's true. I think it would have benefited more from not needing to incorporate everything like the reasons of the rose and the old timey language and stuff like that. Like, I think it could have been I think it could have flowed together more if they were slightly less deferential. But
do you think it would have been interesting if she was the little prince?
Right, you could have done something like that. Yeah,
If it was more like a modern retelling.
Okay, yeah. So if we didn't have like these two sides, and if she was just a modern retelling, yeah, that would have been a more traditional narrative route to go. I also think you could have done the first half of the movie and then have a twist be like she ends up being Little Prince or something like within this story.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of.
Wasn't she kind of anyway?
I guess kind of, right. So, it's there would have been other ways to do this. I think it's an interesting one. I think it was successful.
I agree.
Yeah. So there you go. Final comments on this movie.
Now crying is good, and everybody should do it sometime. It's good to let loose your emotions that you have bottled up about society and life.
Okay. Okay. That was more of a good Little Prince take. Yeah. So there you go.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have good ones sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah, no, frequently, Sam.
Thanks, Dylan. You're my best friend.
Yes, thank you,
Dylan
Sam.
is my fox. I have tamed Dylan.
Okay, I don't know if that's the same thing. Same thing as what you said before, but yeah, what was with we didn't talk about the taming. That's true.
Well, it's like, how you tame like dogs or something,
right?
I thought
it was
dogs.
Kind of a wide use of the word tame. Because it was they kind of used it like connection, but they also kind of just used it as tame, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what did he say? Like, I'm one in 100,000 foxes.
Right,
I'm the same to you. But once like you make a connection with me, then I'm your fox.
Yeah.
That's we didn't talk about that, but that's like a really nice sentiment. There's like billions of people out there, but once you make a connection with somebody, that's like your person, or like that's your dog or your cat or your cactus.
Yeah, I thought that was good. I didn't like the use of the possessive, but I did think it was good.
Or like your feel, like they are in your heart.
Yeah, no, I got what it's going for clearly, But I thought that was good. So
you're so touchy, Dylan.
I'm a little. I guess I'm touchy with this film, but
yeah, old people and kids can't be friends.
Yeah, nope, that's not what I was intending with that. But yeah. That's what we'll go with that. So,
whatever.
Thanks. Check out our other movie reviews at overlyanimated.com. Consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/overlyanimated. This was the patron reward for our great patron John, aka Garfield. Special shout outs to him as he's our patron of the podcast, and this is his so this is his tier reward, and you can check out the other benefits of becoming a patron at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Shout outs to all our patrons, especially John, for this podcast. Who knows what else is, we'll be putting this out much later in the quarter, so I'll know who knows what else is coming out. But yeah, check out, we have a bunch of other movie podcasts coming out around probably in the past or coming up, of other Oscar potential films.
Time is very transient and loose, and
I don't think
tomorrow is yesterday and yesterday is tomorrow.
Yeah, I don't think that was a theme of this film, but
no, I mean, that's the theme of what you're talking about right
exactly.
now.
So what are the themes of this podcast without yeah. And the last comment, Sam.
You gotta see with your heart, man. You just gotta.
Yes.
Your heart doesn't lead you astray.
Yeah, this is the takeaway. Yes, from Little Prince. Good stuff, Sam. And
very very inspiring. I'm gonna go tell who I love that I love them now.
That they're in your hearts, even if they're not. Whatever, etc. Yeah,
exactly. Good. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yep. Let us know what you thought of our discussion on this. Continue discussion in the comments, overlyanimated.com, on the YouTube video, or thanks for listening, guys, and we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.